Welcome everybody to another edition of Fins Up Podcast. I'm your host Chad Martin, and with me is JC, and we're going to break down Arkansas. We waited for a week to do this. Ole Miss was off last week, you guys know that. And this week, your number 12 Ole Miss Rebels are traveling to Fayetteville, take on Arkansas, who came off that big loss to Alabama this past week. That's going to be Saturday night, 7 p.m. for all you people who are not going to be able to make that travel. It's going to be on ESPN, so tune in. Cheer on your Rebels. Now, as you all know, it's been well documented the last two seasons. Ole Miss has suffered pretty bad losses to Arkansas.
Right, one was just brutal. I mean, Arkansas just beat up Ole Miss in Fayetteville 2 years ago.
That's that weather game. That was ugly.
And then last year, it was just ugly because Ole Miss beat themselves at the end of the game.
It cost them.
Had the game won, stopped them. But, you know, we all remember the lateral from Hunter Henry to Alex Collins. And then, of course, we all remember the face mask penalty after Ole Miss had stopped Arkansas again, which put Arkansas in position to go ahead and tie the game and win the game.
Yeah, and that game was more than just losing a football game. It was really losing a shot at getting into the playoffs, the SEC championship, and going on to the playoffs. So this is Ole Miss's year to, get that train back on course and put an end to this period.
You got to get over this, Hugh Freeze. Hey, Hugh, talking to you, man. Like, this is the year. Nick Saban finally got over the hump against you. You've got to get over the hump against Brett Bielema. It's time to break this vicious cycle.
But something interesting did happen this weekend that put a scare into a lot of people. And that had to do with Chad Kelly. And I have no problems with what happened, honestly, to be honest with you, what happened here.
Because nothing happened, really.
Exactly.
Like, even the hit on, because for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, since Ole Miss had the bye week, Chad Kelly returned home to Buffalo, New York, went to his old high school alma mater, where his little brother is a quarterback for the high school now. His brother, what was his name, Casey?
Casey, yeah.
So Casey's playing. Casey runs a bootleg. He runs out of bounds. He gets hit late out of bounds. It really wasn't a vicious hit. It just looked bad because Casey kind of lost his balance there and slid into a chain link fence. But, when you're wearing a helmet and shoulder pads, that's really not that bad. But at the same time, an incident flared up. There was kind of a brawl between the two teams, shoving back and forth. Chad Kelly then gets out on the field and he starts running over there and he's restrained. So a lot of people are saying that Chad Kelly got involved in the brawl. If you watch the tape, he never got involved in anything. All he did was run onto the field and yelled. So a lot of people were making a bigger stink about this than what it actually was. And of course, the news has come out that Chad Kelly won't face any kind of punishment for what happened.
Yeah, and he shouldn't, because, again, he didn't do anything. And here's his statement. He said, if I could do it differently, I definitely would. I actually would not go and run out on the field, of course. I regret doing it. At the same time, I'm sure any of us, if we had seen a family member out there in need of help, we would have come to the rescue too. And he's right. I mean, I'm not a big fan of just knee-jerk reactions and stuff. But when it comes to family and you see stuff like that, that's one thing where you're going to get involved to do something. But at the same time, he didn't do anything.
Right.
So
it was a one-off thing, and this is like the one thing that you can really scrutinize Chad for since he's been at Ole Miss. But really, like we said, this wasn't a big of a deal as people were making it out to be.
Yeah, so stop.
It's just one of those things. I think Ole Miss is a university, like especially if you watch ESPN a lot. When they show highlights of other SEC teams, they're highlights of what they did against Ole Miss, and it's been like that as far as I can remember.
Exactly.
So and I'm not saying that Ole Miss or ESPN has it out for Ole Miss, but there's certainly not a lot of love for Ole Miss fans for ESPN particularly.
Well, I'm not real.
So things like this, they're always going to be blown up to be made to look a lot worse. So Chad didn't do anything bad. Hugh Freeze said, that's it. It's over. It shouldn't have happened. He knows it shouldn't have happened. He knows he can't do that. But that's it. That's all there is to it.
And here's my thing with, and I probably shouldn't get off on this tangent, but I'm going to. I have a real issue with ESPN anyway and how they report their things, because ESPN is becoming more sensationalistic. We see it on their First Take program and stuff, where it's where facts we don't care about. what we want to do is we're into sensationalism. It's funny because how they used to put down wrestling and stuff like that. It's not real athletes and stuff like that. But you see now they have wrestling as part of the program. I love wrestling.
I love
JC
wrestling.
loves wrestling. So that's not the point. The point is when you try to warp the truth to fit a narrative to bring more eyes on your product, and that's what ESPN does. And a case in point, we saw, and this is probably not the place to talk about Dak Prescott being from Mississippi State. Sorry, but this point has to be made. But he plays for the Dallas Cowboys now. And this weekend, when they were playing against Cincinnati, he throws a touchdown to Cole Beasley. And immediately, everybody knows Tony Romo's hurt. They pan on ESPN's website. What you'll see on this video is he throws a touchdown to Cole Beasley. Everybody's celebrating. They cut to Romo, and Romo's just staring blankly up at the Titantron that's up there. It takes up 50 yards in Jerry World. So he's just sitting up there just stone-faced. Well, what actually happened was, and if you actually watch the broadcast, is Romo was celebrating with everybody else. ESPN just cut it together to make it look like they took a later version of Romo looking up at the Titantron and then put it over there and on that to make it into something that it's not.
Because of the success that Dak Prescott is having.
Exactly.
If Dak Prescott was falling flat on his face, they never would have shown Romo. All they would have shown were people having signs that say, "Hey, Tony, we miss you," or whatever. But because Dak is going out here and leading this team to wins, he's making the throws he has to make without turning the ball over, and that offensive line is blocking and letting Ezekiel Elliott run loose. You know, it's ESPN just spinning the narrative, like you said.
They're trying to create controversy where there is none, and this thing with Chad Kelly is just another example on how ESPN looks at Ole Miss and tries to create things where it's not, because I don't know if it's a Southern thing that they hate. I don't know what it is, to be honest with you, but there is something there. It's stupid. It's crazy.
Is it because we're a university that's actually called by our nickname?
Yeah.
Like, you know, they don't, very rarely on ESPN do they say Mississippi.
That's right.
Or the University of Mississippi.
It's Ole Miss.
It's always Ole Miss. And, you know, that's what the university is known by. They're known by the nickname Ole Miss. And we're one of the very few schools that I can think of that actually go by their nickname.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to move on. The heck with that. That is a non-issue. Hugh Freeze came out and said it. Chad Kelly came out and said it. And I hate that he even had to come out and make a statement on it. But he did. And we're moving on. Men's golf. There's some pretty good news out of men's golf. Jonathan Randolph secured his PGA Tour card Sunday after finishing 13th on the 216web.com Tour Top 25 money list with $195,248 in earnings. They're usually a nice year. That's awesome. He earned his first PGA Tour card in 2014, so congrats to you. That's awesome. Can't wait to see you out there because we've become really big fans of golf here over the last year or so, man. Just
Jordan
really enjoy
Spieth's
watching.
my guy, though.
There you go. I hate Tiger had to pull out of the tournament this week, but that's neither here nor there. All right, you ready to break down Arkansas?
All right, we'll break down Arkansas right after we get a word in from our sponsors.
See you soon.
Are you struggling to lose weight and keep it off? Are you tired of all the fad diets that get you nowhere except miserable? Cockrell Family Medical Center in Senatobia has just opened their new weight loss clinic. If you are serious about getting healthy and losing weight, then call 662-301-1128 to schedule your appointment. Cockrell Family Medical Center. Your health matters.
All right, we are back. We're breaking down the Razorbacks. Ole Miss, as we said at the beginning of the podcast, they just came back off a bye week. They've got a lot of chance to rest up. Arkansas came off that game against Alabama where they took quite a beating all across the field. I think that was 49-30 was the final score of that game.
And the game really wasn't that close.
No, it wasn't. It was brutal. Quarterback Austin Allen threw 3 picks. Now, he threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he threw the ball 48 times, and Arkansas was really only able to get 73 yards of rushing. Granted, everybody has trouble rushing against Alabama.
Right.
They're a tough team to run against, but still, that just shows you that it's going to be tough for Arkansas. Ole Miss has gotten a lot better on defense these past few games.
Yes, they have.
They have shown a propensity to get in there and put hats on hats hold containment and hold these running backs like they were doing last year.
And even though Ole Miss lost to Alabama, and Alabama's win against Ole Miss really wasn't as close as the score indicated, it was a lot closer than this Alabama-Arkansas game was.
That's right.
And, don't forget, Ole Miss got out early on Alabama. If Ole Miss gets out early on this Arkansas team, it's over.
Yeah.
I don't see this Arkansas team, even with whatever voodoo Brett Bielema is practicing in order to beat Ole Miss the last 2 years. And I don't care which Allen brother he has, or if he has an Allen's third cousin or whatever, it's not going to matter. If Ole Miss and Chad Kelly get this offense rolling early, and they get that 3-touchdown lead that they've been prone to blowing in big games, that's not happening this week. They're coming out of Fayetteville victorious.
Well, we've seen their last few games where they're finally putting the foot on the throat, keeping it on there the entire game. That's what they have to do. And if they do that against Arkansas, this game's going to be over by halftime.
It's like the big knock on LeBron James for all these years is he doesn't have that killer instinct like Kobe Bryant does. Well, the man's been to, 6, 7 straight NBA Finals now in a row. And you could argue that he was the MVP of the 2015 Finals, even though Golden State won.
Yeah.
He averaged nearly a triple-double in every game. And if he had had a Kyrie Irving out there, then that whole series could have gone in a completely different way. We could not even be thinking about Golden State in the way that we do.
Yeah, I mean, look what happened last season.
So, but, to kind of tie it back here, like you said, Ole Miss they have that killer instinct now.
Yes, they do.
They know, like in the secondary, they're desperate, they're undermanned, but they're playing hard and they're playing vicious. They haven't let up in that secondary. And DeMarcus Haynes, DeMarcus Haynes, or Gates, rather. Sorry, Marcus Haynes and DeMarcus Gates. They've just kind of come out of the woodwork, and they're laying the lumber on everybody.
Oh, they are, and it's such a beautiful thing to see.
I can't wait. As much as I love watching Gates play and Haynes play here at Ole Miss, it's just a matter of time before they're playing on Sunday.
That's right. So let's look at Arkansas stats for the year. You have Austin Allen, their quarterback. He's 119 for 187. 1,632 yards, 63% completion rate, thrown 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 158.1 rating.
Right, and his passing numbers are eerily similar to those of Chad Kelly.
Yes, they are.
Austin Allen's completing 63.6% of his passes. Chad Kelly's completing 66.1% of his. The yards per attempt, Austin Allen's got 8.7, where Chad has 9.1. And Austin Allen's thrown 2 more touchdowns than Chad, but he's also thrown 1 more interception. Their passer rating is only a 5-point difference. Chad's 163.2, Austin Allen being 158.1.
Yeah, and one of the biggest differences you're going to see is when you look down at the rushing stats.
Right.
Who do you not see for Arkansas?
Well, you don't see
Austin, and you don't see Austin Allen.
Right, he's not a running quarterback.
But if you look down at Ole Miss's, you'll see Chad Kelly is run for 124 yards. He has 1 rushing touchdown, and he ran for a season long of 41 yards. So he is not afraid to pull the ball down. I mean, he's tried it 38 times. So,
right, and he has the second longest rushing touchdown of the season for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
41 yards.
And that says a lot. And moving to the rushing side of the ball, you've got Raleigh Williams III for Arkansas.
Right. And this kid's good. I mean, he's averaging 5.4 yards a carry. He's rushed for 605 yards. He had a 55-yarder. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns on the season. Raleigh Williams, I think, he's going to end up in that 1,000 to 1,250 yard range by the end of the regular season.
Yeah, but Devwall Whaley is, again, he's put 6.3 yards a carry. He's only carried the ball 38 times.
Right.
He rushed for 241. Now, granted, 75 of that was on one blast.
Right. So when you have 1 75-yard touchdown run, you don't have that many attempts.
Numbers.
Yeah, that's a product of overinflation more so than anything.
But Arkansas has rushed for over 1,000 yards this season. Ole Miss has rushed for 785 yards this season. So it's going to be interesting to see just what Ole Miss's defense will do to Arkansas's offense. Now, I guarantee you, I think Arkansas will put up yardage between the 20s. That's what I think they'll do. But I don't know how good they're going to be down in the red zone.
I think it comes down to what I have harped on incessantly since this show's incarnation, and that's this receiving core for Ole Miss.
Yes.
Now, if you look at the numbers for the Arkansas Razorbacks receiving core, Jared Cornelius has 19 catches for 408 yards and 4 touchdowns. But then you have a guy like Drew Morgan, who's caught 33 balls, by far leads the Arkansas Razorbacks in receptions. But he's got 344 yards, which is respectable. But he's only got 1 touchdown. You know, he's not finding the end zone.
Yeah.
He's not a part of their red zone package, really.
Exactly.
Keon Hatcher has 320 yards and 5 touchdowns. Jeremy Sprinkle only has 194 yards, but he has 4 touchdowns. So he's kind of who they're going to in the red zone. So that's 4 guys there that combine for 14 touchdowns. That's 14 of Austin Allen's 15 touchdown passes. Conversely, for the Ole Miss Rebels, it's a lot more spread out.
Oh, yes.
You got Evan Ingram with 479 yards and 4 touchdowns. Demore Stringfellow, 305 yards, only 2 touchdowns. Van Jefferson, of course, the slot specialist, 244 yards, 1 touchdown. A.J. Brown, the true freshman, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns. But then you flip it over, it keeps going. Quincy Adebojo, 150 yards and a touchdown. DeMarcus Lodge, 139 yards and a touchdown. Markel Pack, he only has 3 catches on the season for 46 yards, but he has a touchdown. You drop down to Eugene Brasley, the backups running back. He's got 5 catches, 33 yards, and a touchdown. Then you go to
Metcalf
before he got hurt in the second game of the season. He only had 2 catches, but both of those catches were touchdowns.
Exactly.
So Ole Miss is spreading the wealth very generously, for that matter. And if you spread the ball around and the defense can't zero in on a specific target because they genuinely don't know where the ball is going, that gives you the element of surprise, and you can catch this defense sleeping or out of position. And I think Ole Miss is going to exploit that and make a lot of big plays in this game.
This should be a high-scoring game, I think, for the most part. Speaking of that, let's just talk about that then. What is your score for this game? What do you think?
Ooh. Ole Miss has put up a lot of points in almost every game they played.
Yes, they have.
I don't think they've scored below 30 this season. So I'm going to say final score, Ole Miss, I'm going to go 41. I'm going to say Gary Wonderlick kicks 2 field goals, and they get 5 touchdowns. So I'm going to say Ole Miss 41, Arkansas 24.
I'm going to say it's going to be Ole Miss 45, Arkansas 30. That's what I'm going to do. I think they're just going to they're going to drive for a couple of long touchdowns, but then I think they're going to get to a lot of field goal attempts. And their field goal kicker is pretty good, so, I mean, he's pretty much let's just say this. He's good as long as he's in close. And if he stays in close, then I think he'll be fine, but we'll see what happens with it. I think, like the biggest key to the game for me is going to be them containing the running game, forcing everything inside, and just let those guys play loose. If they can do that and just keep 7 in the box instead of having to keep 8 in the box, then Ole Miss is probably going to shut them down more than that, and they may not even score 20 points.
Right. Arkansas is going to rely heavily, even though, and a lot of the big part of Austin Allen having 400 yards last week was because they played from behind the whole game.
Oh, yes. Throw.
Yeah, when you're trying to catch up, you got to throw the ball. And since Austin Allen doesn't really spread the ball around a lot, it's going to enable Ole Miss to lock down those receivers and tight ends.
Exactly.
And it's just going to leave them with big targets on them, and Ole Miss is going to exploit that. Where, like I said, conversely, Ole Miss, they don't focus in on one guy. They might throw the ball to Evan Ingram 3 times in a row, but then switch it up, throw it to Markel Pack, have him in a special package. Then you can throw it to A.J. Brown. You can throw it to Quincy Adebojo, Stringfellow. You might even bring in Taz Zedegren, the senior backup tight end, to come in off the bench. He might catch a couple passes here and there. Of course, they love to spread the ball out to their running back, so look for Eugene Brasley to get a couple catches while Akeem Judd is going to be the one who bounds the rock up the middle. So if Ole Miss I think it's going to come down to play calling for Ole Miss. If they can balance their play calling enough and use the run game effectively to a point that they can get the Arkansas Razorbacks to bite on play action fakes, you're going to see a lot of Ole Miss receivers wide open deep downfield.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all Chad Kelly's got to do is throw it up.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the show this week. You agree with us? Disagree with us? What do you think the score is going to be? We want to hear from you guys. We appreciate you tuning in. Check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/sportsclash. Check us out on Facebook at Sports Clash Radio. You got Twitter, Sports Clash Rad, because they only give us so many characters. Support us. Say hello. Drop us comments on the YouTube, on our Patreon page, Facebook, Twitter, all of that good stuff.
Just hit us up.
Spread the word.
Want to hear
like
from
it,
you.
share it. Yeah, get involved in it. We'd love to hear what you got to say about that. We appreciate you tuning in. Till next time, hotty toddy. Fins up.